Why are you doing that? You should see him. He's making weird little gestures over off to the side here. Trying to be distracting. Oh, no. Don't make me throw my pineapple at you. I will throw my pineapple at you.
I caught Hank. I made my deck save.
Speaking of deck saves, welcome back to Frybox64 Productions, Thoughts from the Couch. I am your hostess with the mostest, Frybox64. And today I just thought I would do kind of a little bit of a blurb on our little book vlog series, Thoughts from the Couch. Given the way that things are right now with the outbreak and quarantine and everything, we are having a lot more opportunity to stay in place and do stuff. Also, I apologize if you hear anything coming from the office. Joe should be on lunch break right now, but he's working at home, so that's fun. But I am popular today. Anyway, so in light of the recent circumstances, I do, like I said, have a lot more time to stay at home and read and do other little projects and things that I've been working on. And one of the things that I finished recently was this book called Spellfire, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. It was recommended to me by my good friend and the internet person or YouTube personality Gunter from PartNerd Dance. You saw me doing tango with him in one of our previous episodes, but he and I are both really into Dungeons and Dragons. He's been doing it for like 20, 25, I don't know, somewhere in that area, long time. But he recommended this book to me because this is the book that got him into Dungeons and Dragons in the first place. And being a fledgling DM and avid player myself, I thought, hey, may as well check it out, see what it is. And oh my gosh, it is so worth the read. It's like 300 and some pages. Let me just double check that. Clocking in at 373 pages. Spellfire is quite a bit of a read, and in the introduction, or the foreword, Ed Greenwood, the author of the book, goes into how he originally wrote it to be, it was supposed to be just one book, but by the time he got done writing it, there was enough material for a whole trilogy. And so instead of doing a full trilogy thing, the editors kind of helped him cut down what needed to go into the book, what didn't. And so the original Spellfire was heavily edited, a lot more cut down. The version I got was the uncut version that had mostly everything that he wanted in there. So it was a little bit of a, long read. You kind of had to sit down and really work with it for a while. But again, it is so worth the read. Like, just starting right off the bat. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So the basic plot line of the book is you have this girl, Chandra Chasser, who she starts out as kind of like a little kitchen maid serving girl at a tavern, and she really reminds me of my own character from D&D, my wizard Patch, because that's basically her backstory. She was a cook at a tavern and found out she could cast magic, and that's why she became an adventurer. Chandral's very similar to that, only she became an adventurer before she figured out she could cast magic, so I had a really cool connection with it that way. But anyway, Chandral goes off and she is kidnapped by a cult. She fights a Dracolich, figures out that she can hurl this stuff called Spellfire, which she absorbs magic and then blasts it back out as actual fire. She also meets several different people along the way. She meets Narm, who eventually becomes her husband in the book. The adventurers, the Knights of Myth Dranor, who kind of patrol the Elven ruins and make sure that people don't get in and get killed by the devils, and make sure the devils in there don't get out. And there's a lot of stuff that happens. A lot of people are coming after Chandral because she has this ability that nobody else has. Only like one other person in the history of the Dungeons and Dragons world in this book has been able to wield Spellfire. So naturally these cultists want to find that and have it for themselves. And so Chandra winds up going on several adventures. She fights a couple of Dracoliches, which are undead dragons. She winds up going up against the Cult of the Purple Dragon, who's like, we want this for ourselves. She winds up going on a lot of different adventures and having a lot of fun. And I won't give away the ending of the book, but It is a very good read. You find a lot of characters that pop up in D&D, like Elminster, the Knights of Mithranor, like Jasael, Rathan, Torm, like all these people. They show up along with villains like Manchun. I thought that was the weirdest possible name ever. He's with the Zentarim. Groups like the Zentarim, the Harpers, they show up. And of course iconic places like Waterdeep, Shadowdale, Deepingdale, all the different dales. And it really is like very true to the D&D universe, which again, this was written like back in the 80s, so I would expect them to stick pretty close to the original like D&D stuff. Really, like, it's kind of slow to start with, but once the action gets going, like, it just kind of like builds up, and then like once you hit the climax, everything hits at the same time. You threw so much action into the last like chapter of the book. It was a great read. I really loved it. One thing that I really liked about the book, it stayed really true to D&D, like the playing rules and how different things were. I very easily picked out spells like Magic Missile, Fireball, Scorching Ray. I picked out like all these different spells that were being cast, so it was really exciting to be able to be like, oh, I know what we're talking about with this. I know exactly who this person is, and get all excited about that. So that was fun. That was fun for me. One thing that I didn't like so much there were a couple of things where I was just kind of like, oh, that happened. Like at one point, Narm and Chandril decided that they were going to get married right off the bat. Like, they just met each other. You're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. You're the most handsome man I've ever met. We're both trapped in a cave. We may die. Oh, hold me. And then they fight a Dracolich, and Narm's like, Chandril, will you marry me? And all the knights are just kind of like standing around watching, like, will she say yes? Will she say yes? And they don't know these kids from Adam and Eve. But when she says yes to the proposal, everyone's like, woohoo, they're gonna get married! And I'm kind of like, well, nothing like battling a Dracolich to really bring people together. But yeah, so I would definitely say I do highly recommend Spellfire for anybody who is really into D&D. If you like role-playing games, if you like D&D, even if you like playing like Dragon Age Origins or Dragon's Dogma or any other kind of like little role-playing game like that, pick up Spellfire. It is great. It's a little bit long, but I guarantee you it's a great read. You will not be sorry picking it up, and I just want to give a little special shout out to Gunter from PartNerd Dance for pointing it out to me and recommending it. I really enjoyed it. If you want to check out some of the stuff that Gunter does on his channel, I will link his channel in the description below. I'll also give a little more information about Spellfire. Spellfire was written by Ed Greenwood back in, hang on, I gotta see when this is copyrighted. 1988. So this is Spellfire was written by Ed Greenwood back in 1988, and it is, again, a very good read. If you're gonna look for it through the library system, I only found 2 copies. I was lucky enough to find this one, but I'm sure Amazon could find it for you. Otherwise, thank you for joining me for Thoughts from the Couch, and I'm hoping you're all staying safe, enjoying your own little personal reading collection, and beyond that, have fun, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!